German intelligence finally understands Patton's operational intent, but understanding no longer changes reality. The space required to maneuver, to disengage, to escape, has already collapsed. What was misread as pursuit was envelopment. What was assumed to be reckless speed was calculated coordination. The Ruhr is sealed, not because German troops were defeated in open battle, but because their enemy was misunderstood at the critical moment. The delay in interpretation becomes delay in action becomes encirclement, and encirclement, once complete, offers no second chances. By the time High Command fully grasps what Patton intended from the beginning, the outcome is already decided. The industrial heart of Germany. The arm is assigned to defend Itah, trapped by a maneuver that was visible, purported, and dismissed until it was irreversible. March 25, 1945. The moment comes quietly. Without ceremony, two American spearheads meet on a stretch of road that, on German maps, was still marked as a withdrawal route. Mud-caked Shermans roll in from the south. Armored infantry from the north wave them in. A brief exchange confirms what both sides already know. The pocket is closed. Patton's forces have linked faster than anyone inside the Ruhr believed possible. What German planners assumed would take days has taken hours. What they believed could be delayed has already happened. The final gap collapses under pressure, not from a single thrust, but from synchronized movement. Northern and southern elements converge with deliberate timing, each aware of the other's position, each advancing with the confidence that the opposite column will arrive on schedule. This is not improvisation, it is execution. Key road, junctions fall one after another. Intersections that once fed traffic west and east are seized intact. Bridges over tributaries of the Ruhr and Lippe rivers are taken before demolition teams can act, or destroyed in ways that deny German movement while leaving American engineers. Alternatives, within a single day. The geometry of the battlefield changes completely. German formations inside the basin lose freedom of movement almost at once. Units that could still maneuver at dawn find themselves immobilized by afternoon. Orders to reposition arrive too late. Routes that existed in the morning are under artillery fire by evening. The pocket is not just closed, it is compressed. Inside, German commanders attempt to respond, but their options are shrinking faster than their ability to understand the situation. Corps headquarters report gaps closing on both flanks. Divisions report American armor behind them. Regiments discover their supply routes are cut without warning. Messages arrive simultaneously, each worse than the last. Fuel shortages cripple any hope of rapid movement. Vehicles idle, then are abandoned. Tanks are dug in as static defenses, not because it is sound doctrine, but because there is no fuel to move them. Artillery units, ration shells. Unsure whether resupply will ever come, attempts to break out begin almost immediately. They fail just as quickly. Breakout efforts lack coordination. One unit attacks east, unaware that another has been ordered west. Timetables conflict. Assaults are launched without artillery preparation because guns cannot be repositioned. Infantry moves without armor support because tanks are dry. American forces, by contrast, are prepared. They do not rush to annihilate. The pocket did tighten it. Roadblocks are reinforced. Infantry digs in on key terrain. Artillery is positioned to dominate choke points. Air reconnaissance tracks German movement, directing fire onto any column that attempts to concentrate. Every breakout attempt is met by layered resistance. One German division manages to assemble a column under cover of darkness, aiming for a narrow corridor believed to be lightly held. By dawn, American artillery has already zeroed the route. The lead vehicles are destroyed within minutes. The rest scatter or surrender. Another formation attempts to cross a river at a damaged bridge, hoping to improvise a crossing. Engineers are killed under fire. The river becomes an obstacle no one can overcome. Fuel remains the decisive constraint. Even where a breakout might be tactically possible, it is operationally meaningless. Units cannot move far enough, fast enough, to exploit success. Any penetration stalls within kilometers, exposed and unsupported. ASE hours pass. Operational control fragments, completely German units begin reporting isolation at the same time. Corps headquarters lose contact with divisions. Divisions lose contact with regiments. Orders issued in the morning are irrelevant by the afternoon. Maps are outdated almost as soon as they are drawn. The pocket becomes a series of disconnected strongpoints rather than a coherent force. Inside the Ruhr, morale collapses unevenly. Some units continue to fight stubbornly, clinging to discipline and routine. Others recognize the situation immediately and cease meaningful resistance. White flags appear sporadically, then in clusters. The scale of the encirclement becomes undeniable. Hundreds of thousands of troops are trapped. The entire armies are now confined to a shrinking space dominated by American artillery and air power. The industrial basin that German high command, once believed recoverable, has become a containment zone. Patton's headquarters receives confirmation from multiple fronts. The link-up is secure. The ring is holding. Orders shift from maneuver to reduction. American commanders are instructed to conserve strength. There is no need for costly frontal assaults. Time is now the weapon. Starvation, isolation, and psychological pressure will do what firepower alone does not. Inside the pocket, German commanders attempt to impose order, but their authority erodes by the hour. Without fuel, without communication, without realistic hope of relief, command becomes symbolic rather than functional. Some officers argue for a coordinated surrender to avoid unnecessary loss of life. Others insist on continued resistance, clinging to duty or ideology. The lack of a unified directive ensures that both happen simultaneously in different sectors. Without coordination, the Ruhr becomes a mosaic of collapse. American units advance methodically, clearing one pocket at a time. Infantry moves street by street. Armor supports but does not lead. Artillery fires precision missions against identified resistance rather than blanket bombardment. This is not a desperate battle. It is a controlled dismantling. The closure of the pocket has already decided the outcome. Everything that follows is consequence. German soldiers, many of them veterans of years of war, realize the truth with grim clarity. They have not been defeated by superior numbers alone, but by speed, coordination, and a collapse of maneuver. Space that left them no room to think, let alone act. The encirclement was not sudden, it was simply faster than their assumptions. By the time the last breakout attempt fails, the Ruhr is no longer a battlefield in the traditional sense. It is a sealed environment, governed entirely by American operational control. The decision has already been made by geometry, logistics, and time. The pocket is closed, and nothing inside it can escape. The reports arrive in fragments at first. Situation. Maps are unrolled across long tables in Berlin and regional headquarters, their markings hastily updated in pencil and grease. What they show is impossible to soften. An entire army group is not partially cut, not temporarily delayed. Sealed. Hundreds of thousands of troops are now inside the Ruhr pocket, cut off from fuel, ammunition, food, and coherent command. Rail lines end at American positions. Roads once marked as withdrawal routes are crossed out entirely. Supply columns simply disappear from tracking boards. For the first time, there is no debate over interpretation. The encirclement is complete. Orders continue to flow outward from Berlin, but they no longer correspond to reality. On the ground, commands instruct units to maneuver through corridors that no longer exist. Counterattack directives reference divisions that have already surrendered or fragmented. Timelines assume mobility that fuel shortages have made impossible. Field commanders attempt to respond, but their replies are blunt. There is no room to maneuver. There is no fuel to move. There is no force available to strike outward. Senior officers, many of them veterans of earlier recoveries and reversals, confront a truth they have long avoided. This loss cannot be reversed. There will be no relief. From outside the pocket, there will be no coordinated breakout. There will be no operational surprise capable of restoring the situation. The Ruhr is gone. What had been treated as a temporary setback is now recognized as a permanent collapse. Germany's last major industrial region has become a containment zone under enemy control. The troops inside are no longer a field army, but a liability that consumes attention without offering strategic value. The concept of recovery dies quietly in these meetings. No one speaks of reclaiming territory. Discussions shift to damage limitation, to delaying actions elsewhere, to political consequences rather than military solutions. The war, once shaped by maneuver and ambition, is now defined by loss management. End private acknowledgements. Senior commanders admit, what cannot yet be said publicly, There is no counterstroke left. The encirclement of the Ruhr has removed not just men and equipment, but the final illusion that strategic initiative can be regained. From this moment forward, German command is reacting to collapse, not directing war. The realization settles heavily over the room. This is not a defeat that can be corrected, it is an end state.